Hello number ones and welcome to Metatron's Academy. So today I found this video by the channel Ollie Richards, which is a channel that I've already reacted to a couple of times. The title of the video is 11 Weird Languages You Never Knew Existed, and this got me intrigued. I still haven't watched it, so I'm gonna do a live reaction with you. As always with my React content, I don't react to the entire video in order for people to have a reason to click the link in the description or the pinned comment to actually give view, engagement and comments, possibly a subscription to the original creator of the video. So without further ado, let's see if we know any of these and let me know in the comments.
Is a real language that Santa speaks.
Let's get this party.
Now, what if I told you that there is a real language that Santa speaks?
Let's get this party started.
Yeah, I know, right? Or a language that politicians use for war cries in Parliament.
That's Maori, so I recognize that one immediately, yeah.
You see, believe it or not, there are lots of languages out there that you probably never knew existed, and yet some of them are hiding in plain sight. So is it possible that we are all missing out on something amazing? Well, I went looking from the icy Arctic to the Pacific Islands, and I found 11 incredible languages that you really should know about. Each one is packed with surprises that will make you really think about language and the world a little differently. And one of them is even taking over Silicon Valley.
You know what's interesting is I wonder if one of the languages he's picking is the one that has the click sound. It's an African language, though I don't remember where it's spoken right now, but I do remember hearing it and I was like, holy moly.
Imagine
if English had a long-lost cousin, but almost no one knew that it exists, and in the town where people speak it, they all have the same 6 surnames. Now, which one of these would you choose? Maybe Bieber, Fox?
Mosler.
Well, it turns out that the world's most endangered Germanic language lives in Poland. That's right. See, Germanic languages are the ones related to English, like Dutch and German. Yeah. And this one is called Wymysorys. It's a language with a bit of mystery around it. Those experts are
So some kind of Polish regional language then. Fascinating.
Scratching their heads a little bit. But see if you recognize just 2 words here. You listening?
Cold water and I was black, but those hot very black you.
If you heard cold water, well, congratulations. That
I did not recognize that.
is what she said. And here's more proof that this language is just a little bit like English.
Alone, Alan. Well, I don't know how they pronounce the L with a little cut. But I can see, yeah, sure. I mean, this is probably all the way connected to Proto-Indo-European, and I mean, this one is very, very common. Even Latin says mater, but possibly there is a connection with ancient Sanskrit. But yeah, sister, no, yeah, I can see some, sure. Oliphant, that's from Lord of the Rings.
Die blues, nee, ik wil die uitkochen. Hoog maar vergassen water te gießen.
Sounds a bit German to me.
It actually does. I would have never guessed a regional variety. I wonder how connected it is to Polish. Simply because it's in Poland, geographically, it doesn't automatically mean, you know, whatever standard Polish version is, then that's going to be the closest one from a linguistic level. So maybe it is more closely related to German. Let's see what he says.
Did you get that too? So what's going on here? Well, it's the most mysterious language of Central Europe. It does seem like German at first, but then it has all of these odd words with funny L's. This is actually the Polish L that sounds like a W.
So this is a modification of the letter L, and it's just like the English W. So
oh, like the Cockneys. Not just the Cockneys, but in general, there are some southern varieties in England that do this, like when they say 13 years old, Zelda. So, yeah, it's called the Dark L. He's definitely going to say that. 100% he's going to say that.
Łatwy.
This story is wild. Back in the 13th century, fierce Mongols invaded and emptied the Polish town completely. So an invitation went out for Europeans to come and settle, and they did. They've been here for 800 years now, so it's amazing they never lost their unique language. Some guy even wrote a nice poem, but who are they? Well, they claim to be descendants of Flemish or English settlers, but the experts say that's just a fantasy and it's more like a strange variety of German, but they do not consider themselves German.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there is social linguistics then that plays a role into this. It does sound a lot more closely related to German, to be honest. Probably a very conservative language when it comes to ancient sounds at that point. It's probably what it's happening. Okay, let's move to the next one because, as I say, I'm going to skip around. Let's see what you've got.
Can you
imagine having a chat with someone who speaks the same language as you, but not being able to understand them? Well, there is a language where this can happen because it splits into so many dialects that even native speakers can struggle to understand each other.
Believe it or not, it's actually very common, so I don't know why he's... not that I'm disagreeing with him, but I'm saying, in Italian as well, if you get someone who speaks Furlan from the northeast, so Friuli, Venezia, Giulia region, and then someone who speaks some variety of Sicilian, someone who speaks Sardinian, someone who speaks Neapolitan, it won't be mutually intelligible. That's actually very common. Maybe because he's English, I think to give him a good idea, because of course in England you have lots of different accents, but when it comes to the ability of mutual intelligibility, usually someone from Liverpool, Manchester, London, they'll still understand each other even though their accents are planets apart. Maybe to give him a better idea would be someone speaking Cornish, someone speaking Gaelic, someone speaking, Scottish, whatever, all the Celtic languages, then something like that. But that's very common, and although those are not related to English. But as I was saying, that's very common.
Oh my gosh, this is a little too much for me.
Well, it's called Yupik, and it's a language group similar to native languages from Canada, like Inuktitut. If you've ever been curious about the languages of the Arctic, well, here's a nice big window for you into that world. Yupik used to have the most fascinating way of writing, but luckily you can write it now using the Latin alphabet, although lucky is a stretch. They have sounds that aren't found in other languages, especially not English. And you've got to see this.
Do you want to hear our longest word?
Sure. Instead of using separate words to make a sentence, Yupik crams everything into one long word. For example, I am going to sharpen my knife is one word. I need to remember that.
I am going to sharpen my knife is one word. Holy moly. It's like agglutinative, possibly. All right, let's see the next one. This is getting interesting.
If you ever wondered where we got the word kangaroo from, I wonder that all the time. I don't know about you. Bear with me. Here's a fun fact. It wasn't Australian. Yeah, I know Australian isn't even a language, but look at this word. You can see kangaroo in there, can't you?
Yeah.
It's an Aboriginal language of Australia spoken by people of far north Queensland called, help me out? That's the one. The name means speaking this way. Gets right to the point. It does what it says on the tin. Want to say what your name is? Try this. It was the first indigenous language in Australia to be written down, and it all happened when Captain Cook's crew ran aground on the Great Barrier Reef, wrecked their ship and bumped into some...
Yeah, Aboriginal languages are fascinating. It wouldn't be nice to learn, of course, maybe not reach fluency, because I imagine the material and learning aids are probably non-existent. So the only way you would become fluent in a language like this is if you marry someone from there, and then you literally move into their village and stop speaking any other language for a couple of years, probably a little longer than that, depending. And then, sure. But otherwise, it's probably going to be extremely difficult. Like, good luck finding YouTube videos and grammar books. With that being said, it would be fascinating to learn at least a few words and a few sentences. Wouldn't it be nice, like, to learn that? And then if you run into a person from that, like, imagine you're visiting Queensland in Australia, which, I mean, one day maybe, and then you run into a person who is a native speaker of this Aboriginal language. Again, I would use the name of the language, but to pronounce it. But yeah, no, also because sometimes you lack high quality recordings. That's another problem. That's why sometimes the languages, they sound a little mumbled because we're not used to the sounds. So perhaps getting used to the sounds, listening to them a lot would actually help our brains to disconnect them, because rather than then the other thing is sometimes there's lack of enunciation on part of the speaker. This happens in English as well, so you would have to find someone who maybe someone who within this culture, but they are very respected, like a person who speaks a lot, maybe it's a version of a philosopher or whatnot, and then someone who enunciates the and takes it, or maybe a teacher, like a teacher among them would probably be even better. And then of course high quality recording material. So these three things together, then it sounds like a mesh of sounds that we can't recognize, and therefore we struggle to imitate in any way, shape or form. But still, could you imagine you run into a person from this? It would be really nice. I'm sure it would make them happy. All right, let's see next one.
Place wall.
Believe it or not, I wish he wasn't singing. I prefer when they speak rather than sing.
Agoy, ginoo ko na ba ini kay sige naman lat iniuran. Kalalangot pud man daw ato mga bado.
Trilled R.
There's a language in Asia that uses its own native numbers from 1 to 10, and then it switches to Spanish numbers for the rest.
Yeah, a connection between Spanish and a native language of the area happens in Tagalog as well.
That's right, Spanish, except for 100 and 1000, which are native again. A strange thing to do, right? Well, it's called Waray Waray, and it's the Philippines' 5th most spoken language.
So, as you see, it happens in the Philippines again. So it's a thing. Of course, it has to do with the history of the area, which is why I actually appreciated when he talked a little bit about the history of those European people repopulating a village that had been cleared by the Mongol invasions. I'll actually look into that and see if I can put together a video on the History channel. That could be interesting.
Now, Waray refers to the people and the language. And the oddest thing, it's also their word for none or nothing. Ever heard of it? No? Listen to this.
Uy, Mandi, bain mayaon ka na doon. Masukot na sa ning utang kay wala nak ibabaligata sa anak-anak.
Waray has some lovely sounding words.
Which one was it though? I mean, I listened to her entire speech. Thank you, Salamat. Wow, Kalayo, fire. All right, next.
What of 150? 200 naira last. Okay, no problem. Let's go. You complete 5 at all?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
You probably know about Jamaican English, but have you ever wondered what happens when English decides to party with African languages? Well, meet Nigerian Pidgin, a cool cousin of English taking over Nigeria's street music and social media.
It be like film. Have you heard somebody say, it be like film, guy, it be me like film? So this is used when you're trying to explain a scenario that left you in shock.
Pidgins are mixed languages that happen when people of different languages try.
I would not have understood that. Tell me, it be like film. I would think like, man, the situation was so crazy. It felt like a movie. That's what I would have thought.
To find a way to communicate. And this story about Nigeria just blew me away. So Nigeria is in West Africa and has more than 500 languages and 20,000 babies born daily. That's why Nigerian Pidgin is brilliant. It's a language everyone can understand. It's a mix of English and local languages like Yoruba and Igbo, and even the neighboring countries can also speak it.
Where are you? Where you dey? Where is she? Where she dey? Where is he?
Dey.
Where he dey?
Where he dey. So de must be the local native. It's actually an interesting mix.
Nigerian Pidgin has a really interesting history. It started with British traders interacting with Africans and even got some Portuguese mixed in. I'm going to try it now, so please don't judge, okay? You sabi do am. This means, apparently, do you know how to do it? Now, in Portuguese, which I do actually speak, to know is saber.
Oh, I see. Saber. Interesting. Similar to Italian sapere. So, you is English, sabi is Portuguese, do is English, and I guess, I don't think this is the English, B probably is the native section. Man, that's a mix.
Do you see the connection?
Yeah.
Saber, sabi? Sounds a bit like savvy in English, doesn't it? But here's the real shocker. Nigerian Pidgin is the biggest pidgin language in the world. 75 million people use it in Nigeria alone.
That is an insane number. That is crazy. Oh, there, yes. Okay, I'm skipping Telugu, if you want to check that. But yeah, Wu Chinese, I'm of course aware of. But let's hear it. I haven't heard it in a while.
Is
it Mandarin? Is it Cantonese? None of these? Well, it's definitely China. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I could recognize it as being Chinese. I understood "iga," which means one in Mandarin, but I imagine it's just a common area. But the rest, I did not recognize.
You got that part right, but here's the thing. China is huge.
Yeah.
And there are way more languages than you might think. And if you take a trip to Shanghai, you might hear Wu Chinese instead. Even if you know Mandarin, you're still in for a surprise. Wu is totally different. It's got more vowels, breathy consonants, and such a soft flow that they give it a nickname, the tender speech of Wu.
Yeah, it sounds Chinese, all right. I wonder how many tones. Hopefully it tells us, because of course Mandarin Chinese has 4 tones. Cantonese, I guess it depends how you count them, but it has more tones. I'll just leave it at that. 8 or 9 depending. What about this one?
Now, you've probably heard of tones. That's when the meaning of a sound or a word changes depending on whether you've got a rising tone or a falling tone. The sound from our perspective is the same, but the tone actually changes the meaning. Mandarin has only 4 tones, which is tricky for learners from an English-speaking background, but that's nothing. Some Wu dialects have 7, 8, or even 11 different tones.
11 tones, that's crazy. I wonder how they count them though. I'm glad that he said the Mandarin has 4. Sometimes I hear people referring to Mandarin having 5 tones, which is complete utter nonsense. So I'm glad he didn't even say 4 or 5 tones. It's 4 tones. Like, the people that say the Mandarin has 5 tones are the people that count the lack of a tone which you can have in a syllable. So you can pronounce a syllable without any tone in Mandarin as the 5th tone. Are you out of your mind? If it's a lack of tone, it means it's not a tone. So if anything, you can say it has 4 tones, and then there is one more pronunciation aspect, version, whatever syllable, call it whatever you want. But the lack of a tone cannot be a tone just as a matter of deductive logic. So yeah, even with these, we'll have to see. That's why I was a little hesitant when it comes to saying the exact number of tones in Cantonese, is because people sometimes count as tones even variations or modulations of tones. So it really is but is it really an actual different tone? Interesting.
Tones.
大家好，我叫 Angela。今朝阿拉来讲一讲上海闲话。我刚刚过好生日，我会得讲3种语言：英文、中文跟上海话。
The coolest thing is,
I did recognize 中文 to mean Chinese, although she'd pronounced the zh as a z. 中文. That's how she pronounced it. I could still recognize it. This is something that happens in the south of China as well. They do that swap sometimes. 中文. Interestingly enough, in fact, the further north you go, the W tends to turn into a V and becomes 中文. Regardless, what's interesting is that literally it means written Chinese, but a lot of Chinese speakers use it to just mean Chinese. So do you speak Chinese? 你会讲中文. They will say that. Technically it's wrong, but it doesn't matter because so many speakers use it. It's fine as an alternative. In theory, spoken Chinese should be referred to as Hanyu or 普通话 if you mean standard Mandarin, or 北京话, so with the actual 话 character, which means to speak or a speech. But regardless, yeah, very cool. All right, so there are Guarani, Ladino, yeah, of course I'm aware of Ladino. That's in there. I have a dedicated video to Ladino, and then it's spoken in some areas of northern Italy. And then Sami, and of course at the end he did do Maori, so I knew this one. I knew about like 4 or 5, I think, of these 11. Interestingly enough, so I'm not gonna continue reacting because, as I say, I don't react to the entire video. Please do click the link in the description if you enjoyed this, and as always, thank you very much for joining Metatron's Academy. Have a good one.